AITA for telling my best friend I don't want to be her bridesmaid because of her toxic behavior. I, 28F, have been best friends with Rachel, 29F, for about 10 years. We met in college and hit it off right away. We've been through a lot together, ups and downs, breakups, family drama, and everything in between. Rachel and I have always been very close, and I genuinely thought she was one of the best people I knew. But recently, I've been reevaluating our friendship because of her behavior, and it's been really difficult for me to decide what to do. Rachel recently got engaged to her longtime boyfriend, Matt, 30M, and of course, asked me to be one of her bridesmaids. At first, I was honored. We've been through so much together, and I was excited to stand by her on what I assumed would be one of the happiest days of her life. But things started to change once the wedding planning began. Rachel, who I've always considered a bit of a perfectionist, started showing some red flags that I ignored at first. It all started with the wedding dress shopping. I know it's supposed to be a fun, once-in-a-lifetime experience, but Rachel turned it into something more like an audition. She made it clear from the start that she had a vision for her wedding that was perfect and had zero tolerance for any deviation from that vision. She picked a dress for herself, and when it was time to pick out dresses for the bridesmaids, she basically told us which one to wear, down to the specific color and fabric. I didn't think much of it at the time, figuring it was just her way of making everything cohesive. But then the problems started piling up. Rachel made a point to criticize each of her bridesmaids about our weight, height, and overall appearance. She told me that I was too curvy for the dress she had chosen, and that I needed to lose at least 15 pounds before the wedding. She even went as far as to suggest that I start taking diet pills because those work wonders and would help me fit into the dress better. I was shocked. I've always had a healthy weight, and while I could stand to tone up a bit, I've never had body issues. This comment hit me hard, and I tried to brush it off, telling myself she was probably just stressed. It didn't stop there, though. Rachel started getting controlling with every little detail. She told me that my makeup needed to be subtle, my hair had to be styled in a specific way, and that I was only allowed to wear minimal jewelry. She didn't just want us to look good, she wanted us to look exactly the way she imagined. At this point, I started feeling like a pawn in her game. The worst part was when she started making comments about my relationship with my boyfriend, Ethan, 30M. Rachel would compare our relationship to hers and Matt's, saying things like, "You should be more like us. We don't fight. We just talk everything out." It felt like she was implying that I wasn't doing something right in my own life and trying to turn me into someone I wasn't. But the final straw for me came a few weeks ago. Rachel called me in a complete panic, saying that she needed me to help her with a wedding-related task that she'd left until the last minute. I dropped everything, left work early, and rushed over to help. When I got to her apartment, she barely acknowledged me. Instead, she handed me a pile of receipts and made me organize them by category, without so much as a thank you or any kind of appreciation. I spent hours doing this for her, and all she did was complain that I wasn't fast enough. When I was done, I was exhausted and frustrated. I tried to talk to her about how I was feeling, telling her that I felt like she was treating me poorly and that I wasn't happy with the way things had been going. She immediately shut me down, saying that if I didn't want to help her, I could just quit being her bridesmaid and leave her alone to figure everything out herself. I was hurt, really hurt. She's supposed to be my best friend, and this was how she was treating me? I was frustrated, angry, and just fed up with all the toxicity. I thought about it for a while and decided that I didn't want to continue in this role. I texted Rachel the next day and told her that I no longer felt comfortable being her bridesmaid. I explained that I didn't feel valued, that I was being put down instead of supported, and that I didn't want to be part of a situation that made me feel worse about myself. She flipped out. She sent me a long text calling me selfish and unsupportive. She accused me of being jealous of her wedding and said that I was making everything about me. She told me that I was ruining our friendship and that if I couldn't handle being part of her special day, then I wasn't a real friend. I tried to explain that I was only stepping back because of how she had been treating me, but she wasn't hearing any of it. A few days later, she reached out again, asking if I was willing to reconsider and still be her bridesmaid. She said that I had ruined her wedding planning and that she was heartbroken. I told her that I wasn't going to change my mind. Since then, we haven't spoken much. I've been thinking about whether I did the right thing, but I just don't know. I know that weddings can bring out a lot of stress, but I can't help feeling like Rachel's behavior wasn't just stress. It was a pattern of treating me poorly when I wasn't doing what she wanted. She's always been a bit of a perfectionist, but this felt like a whole new level of control and cruelty. I miss the old Rachel, the one who was there for me when I needed her. But I don't know if I can keep putting myself through this. So, Reddit, AITA for stepping away from being her bridesmaid and telling her how I feel. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It helps the content grow and motivates me to create even more great videos. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any new uploads. By the way, I'm curious, when do you usually watch my videos? While working, studying, or just relaxing at home? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you for your support. AITA for refusing to attend my best friend's wedding because she lied about my role as a bridesmaid. For some context, I've 27F, been friends with Jess, 28F, since high school. We went through thick and thin together, broke up with our first boyfriends at the same time, went on wild trips, supported each other during family crises. I genuinely thought we were ride or die. Jess and I always talked about our weddings, how we wanted our big day to go, and of course, our future bridesmaids. She had always made it clear that I would be her maid of honor, and I was honored to take on that role whenever the time came. Fast forward a couple of years, and Jess gets engaged to her now fiancé, Matt, 30M. She told me about the engagement the day it happened and practically jumped up and down when she asked me to be her maid of honor. Of course, I said yes. I was so excited to help her plan and be a part of such a big moment in her life. We had always talked about it, and I was pumped to be the one standing next to her when she got married. Then things started to get weird. Jess was always super busy with wedding planning, which is fine, but she became distant. She stopped replying to texts or only gave one-word answers when I asked about the wedding. I figured she was just stressed, so I didn't push it. The next time we talked, she casually mentioned that she'd picked out the dresses for the bridesmaids. I asked her if I could see the dress since I hadn't been asked to make any decisions yet. She kind of brushed me off, saying it was already done, and she'd already ordered everything for the bridal party. I was a little hurt that I wasn't involved, but again, I figured maybe it was just a sign of how overwhelmed she was. As time went on, I realized that she wasn't really including me in anything. She made all the decisions without consulting me, even about the bridal shower, which I had assumed would be my responsibility as maid of honor. It was awkward, but I kept telling myself it was just pre-wedding stress. She told me she wanted everything to be a surprise. Still, I felt a little left out. But hey, I figured she'd need me the day of the wedding, right? Well, the day finally came. Jess had picked a fancy venue, and everything looked beautiful. I showed up with the other bridesmaids, all of whom were people I didn't know. I introduced myself and tried to make small talk, but no one seemed particularly friendly. I figured they were just nervous, which I understood. It wasn't until we were getting ready for the ceremony that things took a turn. I was sitting in the bridal suite, waiting for Jess, when she came in with a huge smile on her face. She handed me a glass of champagne and told me that she had some exciting news. I was expecting something fun, like a special moment before the ceremony. But instead, she said, "So, I changed my mind about the maid of honor." At first, I thought she was joking, but the look on her face told me she wasn't. "What do you mean?" I asked, genuinely confused. "Well, I realized I need someone with more experience," she said. "I've asked Sarah to step in instead. She's been helping me a lot with the wedding planning and everything." Sarah was one of Jess's newer friends, someone she met after she started dating Matt. I didn't know her very well, but from what I had heard, Sarah wasn't particularly close to Jess before Matt came into the picture. We had never really bonded, and I was shocked that she would replace me with someone I barely knew. I must have looked stunned because Jess immediately added, "Don't take it personally. I just think Sarah has more time and energy than you do. Plus, you've been kind of distant lately." That hit me hard. I had been distant? She was the one who barely spoke to me, barely included me in anything. I had reached out multiple times, but she always brushed me off. I was absolutely gutted. At that point, I felt completely humiliated and betrayed. I was supposed to be the person she could count on, but instead, she had replaced me with someone I didn't even know well. I couldn't hold back the tears. I excused myself, went to the bathroom, and just sat there for a few minutes, trying to pull myself together. When I came back, the other bridesmaids were starting to get ready, and Sarah was in the bridal suite chatting with Jess. I realized there was no place for me there anymore. Jess had made it clear I wasn't the maid of honor anymore, and I didn't feel like I should stay for the wedding. I decided to leave. I texted Jess, saying that I couldn't stay for the wedding because I felt too hurt and out of place. She immediately called me, but I didn't answer. I just couldn't face her in that moment. I drove home, feeling a mix of sadness, anger, and disappointment. I never imagined I'd be in a situation like that, especially with someone I consider my best friend. A few hours later, I received a text from Jess saying she was sorry if I felt left out, but that I was still welcome to enjoy the reception if I changed my mind. I didn't respond. I didn't feel like I owed her an explanation. It wasn't about the wedding, it was about the betrayal I felt. The next few days, I got some messages from mutual friends who were concerned. They told me Jess was really upset with me for leaving. One of them even implied that I was overreacting and should have just stayed for the ceremony. Some people said that I was being too sensitive. But no one seemed to understand that this wasn't about the wedding day. It was about how she handled everything leading up to it. I had been emotionally invested in this moment, and she tore it all down in one conversation. I'm torn. I've been told by a few people that I should have just sucked it up and gone through with the wedding because it was Jess's big day, but I can't help feeling like I was disrespected. I don't think I should have been treated like that. She didn't seem to value our friendship anymore, and I don't know how I could just pretend like nothing happened. So, AITA for refusing to attend my best friend's wedding after she lied to me about my role as a bridesmaid. AITA for telling my sister to stop trying to fix my relationship. I, 28M, have been with my girlfriend, 27F, for just over 3 years. We met in college and clicked right away. She's smart, funny, and we share a lot of the same interests. Over the past few years, we've built a solid relationship with lots of mutual respect, support, and a strong connection. We've had our ups and downs, like any couple, but nothing that ever made me seriously question our future together. The issue is that my sister, 33F, has never been a fan of my girlfriend. From the beginning, she would always make comments about how she didn't think we were right for each other, or how my girlfriend was too quiet for me. It annoyed me at first, but I brushed it off. I thought she was just being protective of me, since I'm her little brother, and she's always been a bit overbearing. As time went on, though, my sister's criticisms got more pointed. Whenever my girlfriend and I would have a minor argument, my sister would jump in and tell me that maybe I should reevaluate my relationship. It was small stuff at first, like when we disagreed over what movie to watch, or when we had different opinions on where to go for dinner. But it seemed like my sister always thought that any disagreement meant the relationship was doomed. I talked to my girlfriend about it, and she was always really patient. She told me that she didn't mind if my sister didn't like her, but it was starting to feel like I was being put in the middle of a situation I couldn't control. She never told me to choose between them, but she did express frustration that my sister was always trying to fix our relationship. Things came to a head recently. Last month, my girlfriend and I had a pretty bad argument. It wasn't anything major, just a miscommunication about plans, but it escalated because we were both tired and stressed from work. We ended up not talking for a few days, which, I'll admit, was pretty immature on both of our parts. It wasn't anything I thought would break us, but it was a rough patch. During that time, my sister called me up and told me she thought I needed to seriously think about where I was headed with this relationship. She said I shouldn't waste my time on someone who wasn't the right fit for me. She even went as far as suggesting that I should take a break from my girlfriend and focus on myself for a while. At this point, I was really annoyed. This wasn't the first time she had done this, and it felt like she was actively trying to make me doubt my relationship. I told my sister that I appreciated her concern, but that I didn't need her advice on my relationship anymore. I said I could handle my own issues and that she needed to stop trying to fix something that wasn't broken. I explained that I wasn't going to take relationship advice from someone who didn't even like my girlfriend and that it wasn't fair to either of us. I told her to back off and that I didn't want to hear any more opinions from her about my relationship. My sister got really upset and accused me of choosing my girlfriend over family. She said I was being ungrateful for all the advice she'd given me over the years. She told me that she was just trying to help, and that I was being defensive because I knew deep down that things weren't right with my girlfriend. She also brought up some past things, like how my girlfriend had once canceled plans with her because she was feeling sick. It was a one-off thing that didn't even have much significance, but my sister used it as an example of why my girlfriend was selfish and didn't care about her family. I told her that if she couldn't respect my relationship, then maybe we needed to take a step back from each other for a while. I wasn't willing to keep defending my girlfriend or explaining why I was happy with her, my sister. It's exhausting, and it's been going on for far too long. Now, my sister isn't speaking to me. She's upset that I cut her off and is telling our family that I'm being unreasonable. Our parents are on her side, saying that she's just looking out for me, but I feel like they don't understand how draining this situation is. My girlfriend feels awful about the whole thing, but I keep telling her that it's not her fault. I'm just tired of my sister treating our relationship like it's some kind of project she needs to fix. I honestly don't know what to do now. I love my girlfriend, and I don't want to let my sister drive a wedge between us. But I also feel like I can't keep sacrificing my peace of mind just to keep the peace with my sister. AITA for telling my sister to back off and stop trying to fix my relationship. Edit. Wow. Thank you all for the thoughtful responses. I've been reading through them all, and I really appreciate the support. To clarify a few things, my sister has always been a bit overbearing in general. She's very protective of me, but sometimes it crosses a line. She's made it clear that she doesn't like my girlfriend for reasons that seem to be based on personal preference, rather than any actual issues with my girlfriend's behavior. I've talked to her about it before, but it's never really gotten through. I guess I've been too hesitant to set boundaries, and now it's become a bigger issue. To those asking if I've ever spoken to my girlfriend about my sister's behavior, I've definitely mentioned it, and she's always been very understanding. She doesn't want to be the cause of any family drama, and she's been patient with my sister. But I know it's starting to take a toll on her. I just want to find a way to have a healthy relationship with both of them without feeling like I'm stuck in the middle. Again, thank you all for your feedback. It really helps me to get a different perspective. AITA for not letting my sister's kids attend my wedding after she demanded I change the entire theme for them. So I, 27F, am getting married in a few months to my fiancé, 30M, and we've been planning this wedding for over a year now. We got most of it arranged: venue, catering, dress, decorations, all of it. It's been a lot of work, but it's been fun too, and I'm excited about how it's all coming together. We're doing a more formal, traditional wedding. Think old world glamour, classic, a little fancy. I've always loved that aesthetic, and so has my fiancé, so we're going all out. Now, I got a sister, 32F, who's a bit, well, to put it nicely, she's unpredictable. She's had a few ups and downs in life, and she's a little bit of a drama queen, but I love her, and we've always been close. She's got 2 kids, a 7-year-old boy, Jake, and a 5-year-old girl, Lily. When we first started talking about the wedding, she seemed excited and supportive. But then, about a month ago, she came to me and said that she didn't like the theme I'd chosen for the wedding. She said it was too fancy and too stuffy for kids. She wanted me to change everything, including the dress code, the decorations, and even the dinner menu, because she felt like her kids wouldn't enjoy it if they had to sit through something so formal. I was honestly kind of taken aback. We'd already spent so much time planning the wedding to fit the vibe we wanted, and we weren't going to change everything just because she didn't think her kids would enjoy it. I kindly explained to her that this wedding was something I had dreamed of for a long time, and while I absolutely wanted her and the kids to be there, I wasn't going to alter the entire vision to accommodate them. I told her that we were happy to make some accommodations, like having a kids' table with games and activities, but we weren't changing the entire theme of the wedding. She didn't take it well. She started texting me nonstop for the next few days, insisting that I was being unreasonable. She said I was disregarding her kids' needs, and that no one would have fun at my wedding if it was all formal and stiff. She suggested I could make it more casual and family-friendly so that everyone, including her kids, could enjoy it. The more she pushed, the more frustrated I became. I wasn't trying to be a bridezilla, but this was a day that was supposed to be about my fiancé and me. I wasn't going to let my sister's demands ruin it. I told her that if she didn't feel comfortable with the wedding as planned, She could choose whether or not she wanted to attend. This set her off even more. She told me that I was being selfish and that I was excluding her family, especially her kids, from the celebration. She said it wasn't fair that I was making her choose between attending my wedding or going to her kids' soccer game that day, which she thought was a better use of their time. I honestly didn't know what to say at that point. It felt like she was trying to manipulate me into feeling guilty, and I wasn't going to let that happen. The whole thing seemed so over the top to me. I thought weddings were supposed to be about celebrating love and commitment, not about pandering to every family member's whims. Eventually, after a lot of back and forth, I made the decision that I wouldn't let her kids attend the wedding unless she could respect our wishes and understand that we weren't going to change the theme. I told her that I would love for her to be there, but if her kids weren't going to be comfortable with a formal wedding, then they probably wouldn't have fun anyway. I didn't think it was fair to ask the entire wedding party to cater to the kids' needs when we'd already tried to accommodate them in other ways, like providing a kids' table and entertainment for them during the ceremony. She was furious when I told her this. She told me I was being disrespectful and that it was unfair of me to exclude her kids from what should be a family affair. Now, I'm feeling pretty conflicted. I don't want to lose my sister, but at the same time, I feel like she's being unreasonable. I don't think it's too much to ask for her to just accept that this wedding isn't going to be what she envisioned for her kids. I understand that she wants her kids to be happy, but I'm not willing to change the entire event to suit them. I've talked to a few friends about it, and most of them agree with me. They think I've been more than accommodating, and that my sister should respect my decisions. But one of my other friends thinks I'm being too harsh, especially since I'm refusing to let the kids come at all if they're not happy with the wedding. She said that it's supposed to be a family celebration, and that I'm putting my foot down too hard. So, AITA for not letting my sister's kids attend my wedding after she demanded I change everything for them? Edit. Some additional context. My sister has had a tendency to make everything about her over the years. She's the kind of person who thinks the world should revolve around her kids. She often expects special treatment at family gatherings, and she's done this kind of thing before. I'm really not trying to be controlling or harsh, but it feels like she doesn't understand boundaries. I'm also feeling a little burnout because I've already been bending over backward to accommodate her and the kids. AITA for not helping my sister with her wedding after she insulted me? So I, 27F, have a younger sister, Emma, 24F. We've always been close, but we've had our differences over the years. I'm not going to say that we've never argued or fought, but I always thought we had a strong bond. Lately, though, it feels like things have been shifting, especially with her wedding coming up. Emma got engaged a little over a year ago, and I couldn't be happier for her. She's been dreaming of this day for as long as I can remember. The only issue is that she started to become pretty demanding when it comes to planning her wedding. She's asking me to help her with everything, which, at first, I was more than happy to do. I'm her older sister, after all, and I've always supported her in everything she does. The problem is, as the wedding date got closer, she started getting more and more controlling. She would ask me to do things like organize her bridal shower, help with invitations, pick out wedding favors, and manage other little tasks. I didn't mind helping with any of it at first, but as things progressed, I started to feel like she was treating me more like an assistant than a sister. The final straw came about 2 months ago when she asked me to coordinate the wedding day itself. I was honestly shocked by the request. She knew I had my own life, work, and responsibilities, and I was already helping with so much. But when I told her that I wouldn't be able to do it, she completely flipped out. She accused me of not caring about her wedding, said I was being selfish, and even suggested that I didn't want to be a part of her life anymore. She made me feel so guilty, and it really stung because I've always been there for her in every way I could. After that conversation, I took a step back. I was hurt by how she treated me, and I honestly started questioning how much I wanted to be involved in her wedding at all. Over the next few weeks, I noticed that she was continuing to ask me for more help, but every time I declined or suggested that we could hire someone for certain tasks, she'd guilt-trip me even more. She would say things like, "Well, I thought I could rely on my sister," or "It's not like you have anything better to do." I started to feel like I was walking on eggshells whenever I spoke to her, and I realized that I was letting her walk all over me. Finally, I made a decision. I told her that I wasn't going to help with her wedding anymore. I explained that I felt like I was being taken for granted and that I needed to prioritize my own mental and emotional well-being. She was furious when I told her. She said that I was ruining her special day and that I was being a horrible sister. She even told me that I was jealous of her wedding and that I didn't want her to be happy. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I had been nothing but supportive throughout her engagement, and now she was accusing me of sabotaging her happiness. I felt terrible after that conversation. I tried to explain that I wasn't jealous, that I just needed space and time to focus on my own life. But she refused to listen. She stopped talking to me for about a week, and when she did reach out, it was only to say that I was no longer welcome to attend the wedding if I wasn't going to help. That hit me hard, but at the same time, I felt relieved. I had already been dreading the idea of being part of her wedding day, given all the tension and the way she was treating me. Since then, the family has been split on the issue. My parents have called me to try to smooth things over. They say that I'm being unreasonable and that I should just suck it up and help her out, even if it's a little inconvenient for me. My mom keeps saying that it's only for a day and that I should just do it for Emma's happiness. My dad is a little more neutral, but he thinks I should at least help with something, even if it's just small things. They both keep reminding me that Emma will only get married once, and I shouldn't make it a bigger issue than it is. But I feel like I've been trying to be supportive for over a year now, and my emotional health matters too. I haven't been able to talk to Emma directly in a few weeks. I've been avoiding her calls because I know it's going to turn into another fight, and I'm not sure I can handle the emotional stress anymore. I feel like I'm at a crossroads. I want to be there for my sister, but I also feel like she's crossed a line by not respecting my boundaries. At this point, I'm really hurt by the way she's treated me, and I'm honestly not sure if I even want to attend the wedding anymore. So, Reddit, AITA for refusing to help my sister with her wedding after she insulted me and made me feel like I was being unreasonable. AITA for refusing to pay for my stepdaughter's wedding after my ex-wife insisted I contribute. So a little background on me. I, 38M, was married to my ex-wife, 40F, for 12 years before we got divorced 5 years ago. We have 2 children together, a son, 15M, and a daughter, 12F, but my ex also has a daughter, Kara, 23F, from her previous marriage. I've been in Kara's life since she was around 10 years old, and even though she's not my biological daughter, I've always treated her as if she was. Over the years, Kara and I developed a close relationship. We'd hang out together, I'd give her advice, and I tried to be a supportive figure in her life. I know I wasn't her real dad, but I always felt like I was part of her life in a meaningful way. I didn't expect her to think of me as her father, but she did often express gratitude for the way I'd helped her through certain things. Anyway, fast forward to now, and Kara is getting married. She's been with her fiancé for a few years, and it seems like a nice relationship. But here's where the issue comes up. Kara and her mom, my ex-wife, both approached me a few weeks ago asking if I would contribute to the wedding financially. I didn't think much of it at first, assuming they might be asking for a small donation to help with some of the costs. I don't mind helping out with things like this if I can, and I've always tried to be generous when it comes to important family events. However, the amount they asked for was way more than I expected. They wanted me to contribute a substantial sum of money to cover a big chunk of the wedding costs, specifically the venue and catering. I was taken aback. While I've always been kind to Kara and have played a fatherly role in her life, I didn't feel that I should be financially responsible for her wedding. This isn't my daughter, and although I've been a positive influence in her life, I never agreed to take on the responsibility of paying for major life events like this. I told them both that I wouldn't be able to contribute at that level, especially given that I have my own children to support. I explained that I could potentially help out with a smaller contribution, but I couldn't justify giving them the amount they were asking for. My ex-wife seemed to understand, but Kara was incredibly upset. She said she had always viewed me as a father figure and that it hurt her that I wasn't willing to step up for her on such an important day. My ex tried to mediate the situation, but Kara was pretty emotional, accusing me of not caring enough about her and her wedding. The situation hasn't been the same since. Kara hasn't really spoken to me much, and there's been a lot of tension between me, my ex, and Kara. My son, who is very close with Kara, has expressed that he feels torn because he understands both sides. He says that he doesn't want to get involved but feels bad that Kara is hurt. To be honest, I've been feeling a lot of guilt about it. I don't want to hurt Kara or cause any rifts in the family, but at the same time, I can't afford to give away that much money, and I don't think it's my responsibility. Now I'm questioning if I was too harsh or if I should have been more generous. I know that my ex-wife has always expected me to be involved in big family events, but I've never felt the need to take on these kinds of financial obligations for Kara. I'm stuck in this weird spot where I feel like I've done a lot for her emotionally, but financially, this seems like a line I'm not willing to cross. So AITA for refusing to pay for my stepdaughter's wedding after my ex-wife, and her both asked me to contribute a significant amount. AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding after she disinvited me because of my appearance. So a bit of background. I, 28F, have a sister, Amy, 26F, who is getting married in a few weeks to a guy I'll call Sam. I should start by saying that Amy and I have always had a pretty complicated relationship. We're not estranged or anything, but we're very different people, and for the most part, we don't really understand each other. I've always been the more introverted, laid-back type, while Amy is the social butterfly, very appearance-focused, and has always been more concerned with how things look on the surface rather than substance. We grew up in a family where looks were emphasized. Our mom always told us how important it was to present well, and she made sure we were always put together for every family event or outing. That mentality stuck with Amy, and for her wedding was always going to be a grand spectacle where everything had to be perfect down to the smallest detail. I wasn't really thrilled about it, but I supported her from the sidelines and offered help when she asked for it. The issue started a few months ago when Amy asked me to be a bridesmaid. I've never been that into traditional wedding roles, but I didn't want to cause drama, so I agreed. I went to the first fitting for the bridesmaid dress, and it didn't fit. I've gained some weight over the past few years, but I didn't think it was anything too extreme. I've always been bigger than Amy, and she's always been on the thinner side. Amy immediately noticed, and that's when the tension started. She said the dress looked weird on me and that I might need to lose some weight before the next fitting to make it work. I was honestly taken aback. I've struggled with my weight for years, but it's something I've worked hard to accept. The last thing I needed was my sister reminding me that I didn't look like the ideal bridesmaid in her mind. I tried to laugh it off, but I could tell it stung. A few weeks went by, and the pressure from her continued. She asked if I had been working out and if I could maybe get toned up before the wedding. It was starting to feel like I was being judged, not only for the way I looked, but for my inability to meet her standards. I felt like I was already a bridesmaid in name only, not really a part of the experience at all. She would keep comparing me to the other bridesmaids and telling me how much better they looked in their dresses than I did. I started feeling like a burden. Then came the day that completely broke me. Amy called me and said that she needed to talk about something important. I had no idea what was coming, but I immediately felt nervous. She told me that after much thought, she had decided to disinvite me from the wedding. Her reasoning? She said that because of my weight, I was distracting from the overall aesthetic she wanted to achieve for her wedding. She said that with me being a bridesmaid, it would make the photos look off, and that she didn't want the focus to shift from the beautiful day she had planned to how I looked in the dress. She also said that my appearance would draw attention away from the rest of the bridal party, especially since they were all so much more put together. She didn't want to stress me out by making me feel uncomfortable in front of everyone, and she thought it was better if I just didn't attend at all. I was devastated. I mean, I get that weddings are a big deal, and I understand that people want everything to look perfect, but I never expected my own sister to disinvite me over something so superficial. I tried to explain to her that I didn't care about the dress or the photos, but what mattered to me was supporting her and being there for her on one of the most important days of her life. But she was adamant. She said she didn't want to cause tension and that she didn't want me to feel uncomfortable, so it would be better if I just stayed away. I felt humiliated and rejected. I couldn't believe that the woman who had been my sister for my entire life could say something so cruel. I told her that if she didn't want me there, I wouldn't go, but I wasn't going to just sit back and pretend like everything was okay. I texted her that I wouldn't attend the wedding if that was how she felt. She tried to backpedal a bit, saying that it wasn't about me as a person, but I felt the damage had already been done. The words were out there, and I couldn't unhear them. Now, I'm in this weird spot where I'm not sure what to do. Some of my friends have told me I should go, because it's family and that I shouldn't let something like this come between us. Others, including my mom, are saying I should just let it go because it's her wedding and I need to respect her wishes, even if they're hurtful. They've all been telling me that I should lose some weight and be supportive. But honestly, I'm just angry. I'm angry that she put her image and the perception of others above my feelings. I'm angry that, as her sister, I wasn't good enough. So, AITA for refusing to go to my sister's wedding because she disinvited me over my appearance? I know weddings are a big deal, but I feel like I'm being asked to sacrifice my self-respect just for the sake of making her day perfect. AITA for refusing to attend my best friend's wedding after she disinvited me because I didn't want to wear the dress she chose for me? Okay, so this might be a bit long, but I really need some perspective here. So I, 29F, have been best friends with Sarah, 28F, for over 15 years. We've been through thick and thin together, supporting each other through breakups, graduations, and even family issues. We've always had a solid friendship, and I thought that would never change. A few months ago, Sarah got engaged to her long-term boyfriend, Jake, 30M. We were all super excited for her. She had always talked about having a fairy tale wedding, and I honestly couldn't wait to celebrate with her. As her best friend, I was of course honored when she asked me to be her maid of honor. Now, the problem started when it came to the bridesmaid dresses. Sarah had a very specific vision for her wedding. She had already picked out a color palette, a theme, and the entire vibe she wanted. Fair enough, it's her wedding, and I was more than happy to support her decisions. But when she sent the dress she wanted me to wear, I was a little taken aback. It was this bright neon pink, super tight, off-the-shoulder number with a deep plunging neckline. Not gonna lie, it wasn't the most flattering or comfortable thing I've ever seen. I'm someone who prefers to wear dresses that are a bit more modest and comfortable, especially when I'll be wearing it for hours on end. At first, I thought it was a joke. I messaged her asking if she was serious, and she replied, "Yes, it's the style I want for the wedding." She insisted that the dress was part of her overall vision and that I would look great in it. I told her I was a bit uncomfortable with the dress, and she reassured me that it wasn't a big deal. I could wear whatever I wanted as long as it was the same color. At this point, I was willing to compromise. I found a dress in the same color, though it was much more modest and had a higher neckline. I showed her the dress, thinking it would be a good middle ground. But that's when things started to get a little tense. Sarah wasn't happy with my choice. She said the dress I picked didn't fit the aesthetic she was going for, that it clashed with her vision. She told me that if I didn't wear the dress she had chosen, she wouldn't be able to have me as her maid of honor. At first, I thought she was joking again, but she wasn't. I tried to explain that I wasn't trying to be difficult, but I just didn't feel comfortable wearing a dress that was so revealing. She got really upset with me, and it turned into a full-blown argument. She accused me of not caring about her wedding and said that I was being selfish by not supporting her choices. She even went as far as to say that if I couldn't support her in this one thing, then maybe I shouldn't be in the wedding at all. I felt horrible, but at the same time, I also felt like she was being unreasonable. I told her that if she couldn't accept my choice of dress, then I might have to reconsider my role as maid of honor. That didn't go over well. Sarah became incredibly hurt, and she told me that she wouldn't want someone who didn't fully support her vision in such an important role. She said if I couldn't wear the dress, she'd rather I not be in the wedding at all. That stung. I was really taken aback by how quickly she went from best friend to you're not welcome here. It was honestly really heartbreaking to me because I thought we could have a mature conversation and find a compromise. But it felt like her way or the highway, and she wasn't even open to hearing me out. After that conversation, things just got worse. She stopped responding to my texts, and I could tell she was talking to other friends about me behind my back. A few days later, I got a text from Sarah saying, "If you're not going to wear the dress I chose, then I don't think we can have you in the wedding at all." She officially disinvited me from being a part of her wedding. At this point, I was completely devastated. It wasn't about the dress anymore. It was about the way she treated me and how quickly she dismissed our entire friendship. I felt like I was being forced to choose between my personal comfort and my best friend's expectations. And ultimately, I chose my own comfort. I didn't want to wear something that made me feel self-conscious and uncomfortable for an entire day. But I didn't think that would result in her cutting me out of such an important part of her life. I tried reaching out to her again, apologizing if I hurt her feelings, but I didn't hear back from her. Now, the wedding is just a few weeks away, and I'm heartbroken. I feel like I've lost my best friend over a dress. I'm really conflicted. On one hand, I know it's her wedding, and I get that she wants things to go her way. But on the other hand, I also feel like I've been treated unfairly. I can't help but wonder if this is a sign of how she views our friendship, where she only values me when I completely agree with her vision, and the moment I don't, I'm out. I try to be supportive of her choices, but I feel like my feelings and boundaries didn't matter at all. So now I'm stuck wondering if I was being unreasonable. Should I have just sucked it up and worn the dress, even if it made me feel uncomfortable? Or is it okay that I stood my ground and chose to not be part of something that didn't feel right to me? AITA for refusing to attend my best friend's wedding after she disinvited me because I didn't want to wear the dress she chose for me? Hey friends, if you enjoy this content, don't forget to like the video and share your thoughts in the comments. We really want to know what you like and what can be improved. What do you think of the video? Are there any topics you'd like to see in future videos? Your feedback really helps us get better. Thanks for being with us. AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding because she disinvited my son? So this has been a huge family drama, and I need some outside perspective. I'm a 34-year-old woman, and I have a 9-year-old son, Evan. My sister, Emma, 30, is getting married next month. It's supposed to be a big family celebration, and everyone is really excited about it. The problem is, Emma recently disinvited my son from the wedding, and now there's a lot of tension in the family. To give some context, my sister and I have never been super close. Growing up, we had our differences. She was always the golden child in my parents' eyes, and I was the rebellious one who constantly found herself in trouble. We've been able to get along as adults for the most part, but we still don't have the tight bond some people do with their siblings. Despite that, I was really looking forward to attending her wedding and supporting her. Now, here's where the problem started. My son, Evan, has autism. He was diagnosed when he was 4, and while he's high-functioning, he does have certain behaviors that can make him seem a little out of the ordinary in social situations. He's not great with crowds, loud noises, or long events. I've always been upfront with Emma about Evan's condition, and while I know it can be challenging for some people to understand, I thought she'd be empathetic. A few weeks ago, Emma called me and asked if I was planning to bring Evan to the wedding. I told her that yes, I would be bringing him, but I would make sure we were prepared. I mentioned that if he got overwhelmed or needed to leave early, I'd take him home. I thought this was a reasonable solution, given that it's a long event with a lot of people, and I knew it might be hard for him to handle. Emma didn't respond well. She told me that the wedding was a big event and that she didn't think Evan would be able to handle the noise and the crowd. I told her that I understood her concerns, but I also needed to be there for her and for my son. I said that we could leave early if needed, but Evan deserved to be included in this family event just like anyone else. She didn't seem convinced, but she didn't argue much further. A few days later, I received a text message from Emma. She said that after thinking about it, she and her fiancé had decided it would be better if Evan didn't come to the wedding. She said that they wanted everyone to be able to enjoy themselves without worrying about Evan's behavior or any potential disruptions. She said that they had decided to go with a more intimate guest list, and since Evan was likely to cause a scene, she thought it was better if he wasn't invited. I was completely blindsided by this. I had been honest with her about Evan's condition from the start, and I thought we had agreed on a reasonable solution. But now she was telling me that my son wasn't welcome at her wedding. I felt hurt, angry, and betrayed. I can't describe how devastated I was that she would do this. It wasn't like I was asking her to change the entire wedding for him. I was just asking for him to be allowed to come, with the understanding that we'd leave early if needed. I immediately called her to discuss it. I told her how hurt I was by her decision, and that it felt like she was rejecting my son just because he was different. Emma didn't seem to understand why I was so upset. She kept insisting that she was just trying to make the wedding as enjoyable as possible for everyone, and that she didn't want to have to worry about Evan acting out. She said she didn't want me to feel stressed at her wedding, but honestly, It felt like she was more concerned about the comfort of her guests than my child's inclusion in a family event. I told her that if Evan couldn't come, I wouldn't be attending the wedding either. I explained that I couldn't leave my son behind, and that it wasn't fair to ask me to choose between my family and my child. Emma didn't take it well. She said I was being unreasonable and that I was making it all about me instead of being happy for her. She said that she couldn't have a wedding with drama and that it was better if I just didn't come. I told her that if she wasn't going to make accommodations for my son, I didn't want to be there. That was the last time we spoke directly about it. Since then, the family has gotten involved. My parents are upset with me, saying that I should just let it go and attend the wedding without Evan. They think I'm making a big deal out of nothing and that I should just get over it. A few of my extended family members have also weighed in, and most of them are on Emma's side, saying that it's her special day and that I'm being selfish for not just accepting her decision. They've even implied that I'm being overly sensitive about Evan's condition. I feel like I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place. On the one hand, I want to support my sister, but on the other, I can't support her at the cost of my son's dignity. I don't believe that my son should be excluded from family events simply because of his condition. I'm not asking for special treatment, just the opportunity for him to be a part of the family celebrations. At this point, I've told my parents that I won't attend the wedding if Evan isn't invited, and they're not happy about it. I've also gotten messages from Emma's friends who are upset with me for causing drama. Some have even said that I'm ruining Emma's special day by being so stubborn. So, Reddit, AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding because she disinvited my son? I never intended to become an entrepreneur. If you'd asked me 5 years ago what I wanted to do, I'd have said something like be a project manager at a mid-sized tech company. Nothing flashy. I like stability, plans, health insurance. The basics. But life doesn't always wait for your plan. It started when I was laid off in late 2020. I was working at a mid-tier SaaS company as a product analyst, and our team got cut in a pandemic-related realignment. I had some savings, a severance check, and what I thought were marketable skills. But the job market was a graveyard. Too many resumes, too few callbacks. Out of boredom and mild desperation, I started freelancing. I was decent at Excel, decent at Python, and very good at cleaning up messy data sets. I picked up odd gigs on Upwork and Reddit, small companies that needed help with automating reports, data visualization, and analytics dashboards. Nothing glamorous, but it paid enough to cover rent and keep the lights on. Then one night, I got a weird request. A guy named Phil from a mid-sized e-commerce brand messaged me through a data subreddit where I'd posted a Power BI tutorial. He asked if I could build him a custom dashboard to track affiliate sales from several different platforms: Amazon, Rakuten, ShareASale, Impact. His marketing team was wasting hours compiling reports manually. It sounded straightforward enough. I quoted him $800 for a 2-week turnaround. He countered with $1,000 if I could do it in 5 days. I pulled an all-nighter, delivered on time, and he was thrilled. The dashboard saved them about 20 man-hours per week. 2 weeks later, he referred me to someone else. Then they referred me to another. Within 3 months, I had 10 active clients. I was working 60 to 70 hours a week, living off energy drinks and instant ramen, but I was making about $9,000 a month. And I was still just freelancing. It didn't hit me until I missed a deadline for a client in February 2021. I was juggling too many projects and using a half-assed spreadsheet to track everything. The client was polite but disappointed, and I felt genuinely awful. That night, I opened Notion and created a document titled, "If This Were a Real Company." I wrote down everything I was doing: data cleaning, API integration, reporting automation, client communication, marketing, barely, billing. Then I made a second column titled, "What should someone else be doing?" That was the beginning of the pivot. I hired my first contractor, a guy in Poland I found on a freelance site. He was better at SQL than me and charged $30/hour. I handed off 2 of my regular clients to him under the name of my new agency, Lucent Metrics. By May 2021, Lucent Metrics was pulling in about $18K/month in gross revenue. I was paying my contractor around $4K and pocketing the rest. It Wasn't startup money, but it was better than I'd ever made at a 9 to 5. But scaling was hard. Most of the analytics work was custom. Every client used different platforms, had different KPIs, and wanted different visualizations. I was building semi-unique systems each time, which meant no real economies of scale. So I made another pivot, productization. I spent June to September building a SaaS dashboard platform tailored to affiliate marketing and DTC e-commerce. It was bare bones at first. Users could connect accounts from Amazon, Impact, Share a Sale, etc., and get unified reports. But the trick was automation. No more manually refreshing data or building dashboards for each client. I call the platform Mirrorboard. I launched it with 12 of my existing clients. They got it free if they'd give me feedback. Most loved it. 2 months later, I offered it to new clients at $149/month. By January 2022, I had 80 paying users and $12K/month in recurring revenue. I phased out most of the manual consulting work except for a few enterprise clients paying premium rates. I hired a support rep part-time and a freelance developer in India to help squash bugs. Then something unexpected happened. An agency owner in New York who used Mirrorboard for his clients offered to buy the company. He threw out a number $400K. I was shocked. That was more money than I'd made in my entire life. But I said no. Not because I thought Mirrorboard was worth more, it probably wasn't at the time, but because, for the first time, I liked what I was building more than I liked the idea of cashing out. Instead of selling, I raised a small angel round, $150K from 2 founders I knew through a tech Slack group, and used it to build V2 of Mirrorboard with a UI that didn't look like it came from 2014. I also hired a real CTO. Well, technically a founding engineer with equity, but he acted like a CTO. We rebuilt the whole backend, added Stripe integration, and connected with 30-plus affiliate platforms via API. By the end of 2022, Mirrorboard had 320 paying customers and was making about $48K/month. We were finally breaking even after costs, and I paid myself a salary for the first time $4,000/month. Modest, but enough. The real shift came in 2023 when we launched the team feature. Agencies could manage multiple client dashboards under one login. That single feature changed our target market. Suddenly, we weren't just helping indie operators. We were helping agencies serve their clients better. Our MRR jumped from $48K to $92K in 7 months. Now it's 2025. Mirrorboard has 1,100 paying customers, including 6 enterprise agencies. We're at $185K MRR, fully bootstrapped after that first angel round, and profitable. I have a full team of 14 people, developers, customer success, marketing. We're remote first and run lean. I still remember that first dashboard I built for Phil. Ugly as hell, built in Google Data Studio and duct taped together with Google Sheets. But that project launched a chain of events that changed everything. I never meant to be an entrepreneur, but I learned that you don't always need a 100-page business plan or a venture-backed vision to build something valuable. Sometimes it starts with solving one boring problem better than anyone else. That's all business is, really. Solving boring problems at scale. And I'm good with that. AITA for telling my sister she's not allowed to bring her kids to my wedding. I, 28F, am getting married to my fiancée, 29M, in a few months, and I've been planning this wedding for over a year. It's been a huge deal for me, and I've been very particular about everything. I've always dreamed of having a small, intimate wedding with close friends and family. Nothing too over the top, but something beautiful and meaningful. I've worked hard to make sure every detail aligns with my vision, and I've put a lot of thought into making the day special for me and my fiancée. Here's where the problem comes in. My sister, 32F, has 2 kids, a 5-year-old boy and a 3-year-old girl. I love my niece and nephew, but they're a handful. They're both incredibly energetic and, to put it bluntly, they don't behave well in public settings. I've witnessed my sister struggle to control them at family events, and frankly, it stresses me out. My fiancé and I have discussed it, and we both agreed that having young kids at our wedding might cause chaos. We've both envisioned a peaceful, adult atmosphere where we can enjoy the evening without constant interruptions. So, after much consideration, I made the decision to not invite kids to our wedding. We sent out the invitations, and on the RSVP cards, we included a note that said, "Adults only, please." I wanted to make sure it was clear, but also respectful. I'm not trying to exclude anyone's kids out of malice. I just want the day to go as smoothly as possible. When I told my sister about the decision, she was upset. She immediately asked why I was excluding her kids, especially since they're her babies, and she doesn't get many chances to have a night out without them. I explained my reasoning, told her I wanted a quiet event without kids running around, and emphasized that it wasn't personal. I even told her that I'd love for her to be there, that we could spend time together before or after the wedding. She didn't take it well. A few days later, she called me and said she was planning to bring her kids anyway because she didn't want to leave them with anyone else. She made it clear that if her kids weren't invited, she wouldn't come to the wedding at all. She said, "I'm your sister, and I shouldn't have to choose between my kids and being there for you." I told her that I understood her feelings, but I wasn't willing to compromise on my decision. This led to a huge argument. I've since been hearing from other family members who are saying that I'm being unreasonable. Some of them say I'm being too strict and that it's not a big deal if kids are at the wedding, especially since my sister will be uncomfortable leaving them behind. One of my cousins even said that I'm being selfish by putting my vision for the wedding above family relationships. This has been causing a lot of tension within the family, and I'm starting to second-guess myself. I've tried to be understanding of my sister's situation. She's a single mom, and I know it can be hard to find someone to watch her kids. But at the same time, I feel like my wedding day is something I've worked so hard to plan, and I want it to be exactly what I've envisioned. I don't think I'm asking for too much. I don't want my sister to feel hurt or left out, but I also don't think I should have to sacrifice my preferences for the sake of convenience. The whole situation has become so stressful that I'm honestly starting to dread the wedding planning process. I just want it to be a peaceful, happy day for me and my fiancé, but the conflict with my sister is overshadowing everything. So, AITA for telling my sister that she can't bring her kids to my wedding. Edit. I'm seeing a lot of comments about how people think my reasoning is unfair because my sister is a single mom. I want to clarify that I fully understand how hard it must be to balance parenting with personal time. I don't want her to feel unsupported. But I also believe that, as a couple, my fiancé and I have the right to set the tone for our wedding day. I've always been clear that my preference is to have an adult-only wedding, and I don't think that's unreasonable. I've offered her alternatives, like watching the kids during the ceremony and then meeting up afterward, but she's refusing to consider them. I'm genuinely trying to find a solution that works for both of us, but she's making it seem like it's her way or nothing. That's what's frustrating me. Edit 2. To address some of the questions about other family members attending without kids, we've decided to keep the guest list small, and most of our relatives with young children already know that they won't be able to bring them. We've had other family members express support for my decision, and I'm not the only one setting boundaries on this. I've even talked with my cousin who has kids, and she's planning to leave them with her grandparents for the day. I get that it's a tough decision for parents, but ultimately, I want to maintain the kind of event we envisioned. I never thought a failing food truck would lead me to owning a multi-million-dollar logistics software company, but here we are. 5 years ago, I was 28, broke, and riding on what I thought was the dream, a gourmet grilled cheese food truck I named Cheesy Does It. It was a passion project. I'd quit a mid-level operations job at a warehouse logistics company to pursue what I thought was freedom. I loved food, I loved people, and I loved the idea of being my own boss. I cashed out most of my savings, used a small loan, and bought a used truck that needed a full retrofit. That process alone took 5 months and way more money than I expected. I was naive, but enthusiastic. When we finally hit the road, I had a good first month. Lines down the block, people loving the concept, and Instagram blowing up. Then, reality hit. Maintenance issues, parking regulations, unpredictable foot traffic, and the relentless stress of prep and cleanup made it unsustainable. By month 4, revenue dropped by 60%. My girlfriend left, my landlord raised the rent, and I started skipping meals to keep my inventory stocked. But here's where things get interesting. The only reason I made it to month 6 was because I started parking outside large office parks and construction sites instead of chasing trendy neighborhoods. Those workers were hungry, loyal, and paid in cash. I started calling ahead to companies to see if I could schedule stops. Some said yes, especially the ones with shift-based teams. I made a spreadsheet of which sites had the most foot traffic, who to call, what days were busiest, etc. In an effort to not lose my mind, I built a simple web form using Google Forms where businesses could schedule my truck. It got shared around. I noticed something weird. Other food truck owners started asking if they could use my form to schedule stops, too. By now, I was barely breaking even. So I started charging $20/month to use the form. I figured 10 signups would give me gas money. Within 2 months, I had 40 users. I upgraded to a paid Zapier plan and linked it to auto-send confirmation emails, added Google Calendar Sync, and it started to feel real. The grilled cheese business still sucked. I was burnt out, working 12-hour days, sweating, and then staying up until 2 a.m. tweaking a Google Sheet. But the form thing? It kept growing. I started getting requests for features I couldn't add through Google Forms. That's when I met Brian. He was a regular customer who worked at a warehouse automation startup. We got to talking, and he offered to help build a basic web app to replace my janky form. He just wanted to see if he could make it work, and he hated his job. 6 weeks later, we had version 1 of RouteRig. We charged $10/month for solo operators and $50 for larger fleets. No bells or whistles. Just a way for mobile vendors to coordinate routes, book locations, and manage scheduling. We launched in a few Facebook food truck groups. 250 users in the first month. I shut down Cheesy Does It 2 months later. We made no real money at first. Most people just used the free trial and left. But a few kept paying. One user, James, ran a small fleet of 6 taco trucks in Texas. He asked if we could add shift assignments, driver dispatch features, and basic inventory logging. He offered $500 if we could do it in 3 weeks. Brian worked like a machine. We added the features. James told his friends. Then something clicked. This wasn't about food trucks. It was about mobile operations. We shifted our focus. Landscapers, mobile pet groomers, pop-up coffee bars, even a traveling phlebotomist team signed up. I started cold calling companies, framing RouteRig not as a food truck scheduler, but as mobile operations logistics software. It sounded professional, even though the back end was still shaky. In year 2, we hit $85K in ARR. Still small, but steady. I started reading every SaaS blog and growth hacking manual I could find. I learned how to run low-budget Facebook ads, built drip email campaigns, and started a referral program. Brian quit his job, and we finally got a tiny co-working space. He rebuilt the back end from scratch. We integrated with Stripe, added user roles, then API access. That year, we hit $400K in ARR. We bootstrapped the whole thing. No outside funding, just sweat and ramen. In year 3, we raised a small angel round from a family friend. $150K. We hired our first salesperson and a customer success rep. I focused full-time on growth and enterprise sales. We moved up market and signed a regional HVAC service with 80 vans. That one deal doubled our revenue. By year 4, RouteRig was a full-fledged SaaS platform for mobile workforce management. We had routing, scheduling, dispatch, time tracking, customer notifications, billing integrations, you name it. We were at $2.3 ARR with churn under 4%. We rebranded as MoveX to reflect the broader market and started landing deals in Canada, Australia, and the UK. Our team grew to 22, fully remote. I started waking up to emails from companies I'd never heard of asking for demos. Today, I still own 72% of MoveX. We cleared $5.6 ARR last year and are profitable. We've had acquisition offers, One for 8 figures, but we're not selling yet. I finally paid off my student loans. Brian bought a house. I don't drive a food truck anymore, but I keep a framed cheesy does-it apron in my office. People often ask if I regret starting the truck. Absolutely not. That failure was the best thing that ever happened to me. If I hadn't hit bottom, I never would have built that dumb little form. And if I hadn't built that, I'd still be an operations manager wondering if I could ever be my own boss. Success doesn't usually come from a grand vision. Sometimes it's just from noticing what people ask for again and again, and then actually building it. I was 32 when I realized my dream job was slowly turning into a trap. I was working as a product manager at a mid-sized tech firm in Chicago. Good salary, decent benefits, the kind of job people described as stable. But the daily grind had become predictable to the point of soul-numbing. Meetings about meetings, PowerPoint decks no one read, KPIs that seemed like they were written in hieroglyphics. I didn't hate the job. I hated what I was becoming. Risk-averse, tired, and safe. Way too safe. One night in March, I was walking home late after a strategy alignment session, read, pointless workshop with overpriced pizza, and passed by a food truck with a massive line. It was cold, windy, typical Chicago spring weather, but people were still queued up like they were waiting for concert tickets. I asked someone what was so special. Ghost chili chicken wings. And they're only here Tuesdays and Fridays. The guy said like he was guarding national secrets. That was my click moment. Not the wings, but the urgency around them. Limited time, limited supply, big demand. I went home and couldn't sleep. I'd always wanted to build something of my own. I wasn't a coder and didn't have any brilliant SaaS ideas. But I did know people. I knew how to spot what got them excited, what made them feel like they were in on something special. That week, I wrote a rough plan for a pop-up food brand that wouldn't have a fixed menu, location, or even a consistent chef. It would live entirely online, with rotating drops of unique meals from local chefs, limited to just 200 portions each time, sold through Instagram and a simple Shopify site. Think, streetwear meets supper club. I called it Bike Club. I pitched the idea to 2 chef friends from college. One was hesitant but supportive. The other, Nate, was all in. He'd been doing private catering gigs and was itching to do something weirder, more experimental. We decided to test it. Our first drop was Soul Cowboy, Korean fried chicken with a Texas barbecue twist. Nate designed the menu. I built a basic Shopify store and an Instagram page with 0 followers. We took some amateur photos, spent $100 on Instagram ads, and announced we were doing a Saturday-only pickup from a shared kitchen space in Logan Square. 150 meals maximal. They sold out in 42 minutes. I thought it was a fluke. We did a second drop 2 weeks later, vegan tacos with weird, aggressive branding, plant power trip. 200 meals this time. Sold out in under 30 minutes. That's when I knew we had something. I kept my day job for the first 4 months. Every drop was a chaotic blur of prepping, packaging, customer emails, Insta DMs, pickup coordination. We had no real system, but we built a list. Every buyer got added to an email list. Every no-show, every delivery hiccup, I personally followed up. I wasn't just trying to sell food, I was trying to build a club like the name promised. By month 5, we had 9,000 Instagram followers and a 45% repeat purchase rate. I quit my job. It felt insane. I had no salary, no safety net, and no plan past the next 2 drops. But I never felt more alive. Over the next year, we did 27 different drops. We collaborated with punk rock bakeries, ex-Michelin chefs, even a guy who made dumplings shaped like cartoon characters. Every menu came with a story, and every meal had a surprise, a QR code that led to a Spotify playlist, a collectible sticker, or a secret menu item for next time. We built hype without being obnoxious. No fake scarcity, real scarcity. We only had the kitchen, crew, and resources to make what we made. That authenticity, weirdly, became our marketing engine. Things got messy, of course. Our first health inspection was a nightmare. One of our chefs no-showed on drop day. Once, a meat supplier delivered the wrong cuts, and we had to pivot the entire menu the morning of. But we adapted, learned, grew. By year 2, we had moved into a dedicated space and built a small team. I finally took a modest salary. We launched in 2 more cities, Austin and Portland, each with its own chef lead, but all under the Bike Club brand. We built software that let us coordinate drop inventory, wait lists, and delivery windows. Still simple, still gritty, but better. Investors came knocking. Most didn't get it. They wanted us to become another DoorDash or Ghost Kitchen brand. I declined every offer. We weren't trying to scale volume. We were trying to scale vibe. In year 3, we crossed $1.2 million in revenue. Not mind-blowing, but healthy. Profitable, too. Our email list hit 45,000. People were flipping our meal kits on Reddit. Someone made a parody TikTok calling us the supreme of sandwiches. We leaned into it. Then came the pivot I never saw coming. A regular customer named Maya emailed me, saying she and her boyfriend had moved away but missed Bike Club. She asked if we ever thought of shipping drops. I hadn't. Logistics sounded like hell, but I couldn't stop thinking about it. We started experimenting with cold-packed, overnight drop boxes. At first, just snacks, then full meal kits. We prepped them in Chicago, packed them with ice packs, and shipped to 8 states. Demand exploded. Within 4 months, shipped drops made up 35% of our revenue. Now, we're entering year 5. Bike Club has never had a storefront. No physical sign. No up. We've fed over 120,000 people through nothing but drops, DMs, and vibes. Sometimes I still miss the stability of a 401k and guaranteed health insurance. But most days I wake up excited, anxious, and hungry, not just for the food, but the challenge. Entrepreneurship didn't feel like a light bulb moment. It felt like 1,000 tiny bets stacked on top of each other, teetering and swaying, until one finally lands just right. And you realize the chaos is the point. If I had waited for a perfect plan, I'd still be in that beige conference room, waiting for my slice of cold strategy pizza. Instead, I built a club, one bite at a time. I accidentally became a coffee mogul, and now I'm stuck running a business I never planned for. So, a bit of backstory. I was 28, working as a freelance web developer in a mid-sized city. I was decent at it, not some tech prodigy, but I had regular clients and enough gigs to keep me afloat. I worked from home, lived in a cheap loft, and had a mild caffeine addiction. I also had this weird habit of buying random stuff at estate sales. One Saturday, I stumbled across a vintage Italian espresso machine, bright red, chrome-lined, built like a tank. It looked like something from a Bond film. I dropped $75 on it, lugged it home, and spent an entire weekend taking it apart and cleaning it. I didn't even drink espresso at the time. That changed real fast. The machine made these ridiculously rich, syrupy shots like liquid gold. I started experimenting with beans, grind sizes, tamp pressure, all that barista nerd stuff. Soon I was ordering rare beans from roasters in Oregon and Guatemala. My morning routine became a 2-hour ritual. Friends came over just to try my latest pull. Eventually someone said, "You should sell this." I laughed. I didn't want a job. I wanted freedom. I liked working in sweatpants. But the idea stuck in my head. One night, I mocked up a Squarespace site for fun. I called it Red Dog Roasters, named after my overweight rescue, Mutt who snored like a chainsaw. I wrote some cheeky copy, uploaded stock photos of coffee beans, and added a coming soon banner. Then I forgot about it. A month later, I got an email. Someone had pre-ordered a $30 bag of beans. I didn't even sell beans. The site had gone semi-live after a hosting update. That order came from someone in Seattle. I panicked. I had no supply, no packaging, nothing. But I didn't want to refund them. Instead, I emailed a roaster I'd once DM'd on Instagram and asked if they'd white label a batch for me. To my shock, they agreed. I fulfilled that first order with a recycled box and a hand-drawn label. Then I posted about it on a coffee subreddit. The post blew up. People thought the story was hilarious and wanted to support the dude with the dog and the espresso machine. Within a week, I had 150 orders and no plan. Over the next 3 months, I scrambled. I built a Shopify store. I learned about USPS rates and how to order branded stickers in bulk. I turned my living room into a fulfillment center. My couch became a staging area for poly mailers and bubble wrap. I barely wrote any code. I was packing coffee until midnight. I hired my younger cousin, who had just flunked out of college. He was surprisingly good at logistics. He renamed himself Chief of Bean Operations. My dog, Red, became our mascot. We printed his face on our labels and ran giveaways with hashtags like #BenThreadandEffit. Our Instagram grew to 10K followers purely from memes and latte art. 6 months in, I made my first profit. It wasn't a lot, maybe $1, 800, but I saw the potential. So I doubled down. I negotiated directly with a farm in Colombia through a translator app. I started working with a local graphic designer to rebrand from quirky startup to boutique luxury. I invested in a real roasting setup, rented a tiny warehouse, and moved operations out of my loft. My cousin and I drove a U-Haul full of beans across the state to meet with a distributor who ghosted us. But then Whole Foods reached out through their local vendor program. They wanted to test Red Dog in 3 stores. That was when things got real. I had to incorporate, get insurance, meet health codes, hire a CPA who didn't sigh every time he saw my bookkeeping. I put my dev career on pause and went all in. The Whole Foods trial turned into a regional deal. Then indie grocery chain picked us up. Suddenly, I was dealing with pallet shipments and net 60 terms and freight brokers who talked like mobsters. Our holiday blend went viral on TikTok when some influencer said it tasted like Santa's personal roast. We sold out in 2 days. I had to refund 300 orders because our supply chain couldn't keep up. That was the first time I considered quitting. I missed the quiet, the code, the simplicity, but I also couldn't stop. Something about seeing people post pictures of their morning brew with my dog's face on the bag. It lit me up in a way dev work never had. Then came the acquisition offers. First from a regional competitor, then from a national food conglomerate. The second offer was real money, high 6 figures, with potential to grow based on performance. I sat with it for days. I even had a call with a lawyer friend who said, "You built something with legs. If you sell now, you'll always wonder what it could have become." So I passed. I raised a small friends and family round instead. I brought on a real COO. My cousin now manages 5 employees. Red is still the mascot, but now he has a custom plushie in our merch store. Today, Red Dog Roasters ships about 20,000 bags a month. We're in 40-plus stores. We launched a coffee subscription box that includes beans, a zine, and snacks from other small businesses. I still don't love the logistics. I miss building websites, but I wake up excited every single day. That stupid espresso machine changed everything. The crazy part? I still have it. It sits in our office lobby, untouched. A relic of the day, I accidentally started a company because I was bored, broke, and bad at saying no. I didn't set out to become an entrepreneur. I just hated being broke. I graduated in 2015 with a pretty useless degree in communications from a mid-tier state university, with around $45K in debt and no real plan. My first job out of school was working as a customer service rep for a large insurance company, making about $36K a year. I was living in a 1-bedroom with 2 roommates in a bad part of town, eating more ramen than I care to admit, and silently panicking every time I had to check my bank account. Around this time, I started browsing Reddit and watching YouTube videos about side hustles, entrepreneurship, and building your own thing. I didn't have any money, but I had time. I wasn't dating anyone, didn't go out much, and had no hobbies that cost money. One night, after a truly soul-crushing shift, listening to angry customers yell at me for 8 hours, I decided I was going to try flipping things from garage sales. You know, the Gary Vee model. It sounded dumb, but I figured worst case scenario I'd break even and at least get out of the apartment. That weekend, I hit 3 garage sales and spent $47 on a box of vintage video games, a couple unopened Lego sets, and a weird-looking desk lamp shaped like a horse. The lamp sold on eBay 2 days later for $85. I was hooked. For the next 3 months, I spent every Saturday and Sunday hitting up garage sales, thrift stores, flea markets. I'd clean, test, list, and ship stuff in the evenings after work. I flipped everything from sneakers to old calculators to stereo equipment. By the end of that summer, I had made a little over $200 profit. It wasn't life-changing, but it was real. I was building something. Then, I stumbled into what would become my niche completely by accident. One Sunday, I picked up a used espresso machine at a garage sale for $25. It looked fancy and had an Italian name I couldn't pronounce. I listed it on eBay for $120, and it sold the next morning. I got 3 messages asking if I had more. I didn't, but I decided to go find out why everyone suddenly wanted old espresso machines. Turns out, there's a whole subculture of coffee enthusiasts who buy vintage machines to restore them, mod them, or just because they love the aesthetic. And some of these machines were selling for $300, $500, even $1,000 plus. I started learning everything I could: brands, models, parts, how to test them, what made a machine valuable. By the following spring, 80% of what I was selling was espresso machines. I bought them cheap, cleaned them, tested the pressure, replaced basic gaskets and seals, YouTube is a gold mine, and flipped them. I made just over $14,000 that year on the side. That was when I realized this could be a business. I made a crazy decision. I quit my job. I had around $7,500 in savings, no other income, and no health insurance. Everyone in my life thought I was being reckless. My dad offered to help me find something more stable, but I knew I could at least break even doing what I was doing. I just needed time. I doubled down. I built a Shopify store and gave myself a business name, Pressed Revival. I paid a freelancer $50 to make a logo. I got business cards. I made an Instagram page and started posting before and after photos of machines I cleaned up. I added a blog where I posted restoration tips, guides, and comparisons between brands. Sales grew slowly at first. eBay was still my bread and butter, but soon I was getting direct orders. I reinvested every dollar I made. Within 6 months, I was selling an average of 10 to 15 machines a month, with profits around $300 to $500 per unit. I was bringing in about $5,000 a month in revenue, give or take. Then COVID hit. At first, I panicked. I couldn't go to thrift stores or flea markets. Sourcing dried up. But then something unexpected happened. Demand spiked. People were stuck at home and suddenly wanted cafe-quality espresso in their kitchens. My Instagram exploded. I had to stop taking custom requests because I had a backlog. I sold out my entire inventory in 2 weeks and had nothing to list. That's when I started reaching out to cafes. I figured they must have broken or retired equipment lying around. I cold emailed and cold called over 100 coffee shops, offering to haul away their unused gear. Most ignored me. A few laughed, but 4 said yes. I got a van and made pickups. One of those hauls included a La Marzocco Linea Mini that needed work. After fixing it up, I sold it for $800. That was my biggest flip yet. In 2021, I moved the business out of my apartment and into a small warehouse. I hired a part-time assistant to help with cleaning and shipping. I was pulling in 6 figures in profit, and it still didn't feel real. But the success brought new challenges. I got cocky and bought a bulk lot of 50 machines from a commercial reseller, untested. I spent $12,000. Turned out, more than half were beyond repair or needed expensive parts one couldn't source. I lost almost $6,000 on that deal, which felt like a gut punch. I also realized I couldn't scale forever doing this solo. Restoration takes time. Quality control was slipping, and I started getting more complaints about machines arriving with minor issues. That was my second big lesson. Just because you can grow doesn't mean you should, at least not without infrastructure. So I pivoted again. I began focusing on higher-end machines and offering a premium restoration service instead of volume flipping. I raised prices, tightened the funnel, and started selling fewer but higher-margin units. I also added a line of accessories, tampers, scales, grinders branded with the Pressed Revival name. As of last month, I have 3 employees, a proper workshop, and a growing wait list for custom restorations. We do about $25,000 to $30,000 in monthly revenue with healthy margins. I pay myself a modest salary and reinvest the rest. Looking back, The irony is that I never even liked coffee when I started. Now, I'm one of those people who weighs their beans to the gram and gets angry if the shop pulls in 28 seconds instead of 25. Life's funny. I'm not a millionaire, and I'm not trying to build a unicorn startup. I just wanted freedom, and I got it, one espresso machine at a time. If you're stuck in a job you hate, and you've got an idea, even a stupid one, just try it. You don't need investors or a perfect plan. You just need to start. This is the story of how I turned a failed startup idea into a thriving business. It's been a roller coaster of ups and downs, but in the end, I found my niche and learned more about myself and what it takes to be an entrepreneur than I ever expected. I hope this resonates with someone who's struggling or doubting themselves, because if I can make it through, so can you. Back in 2018, I had just left my comfortable job as a project manager at a tech company. I had this idea for an app that was going to revolutionize the way people connect with service providers, like plumbers, electricians, cleaners, basically all those people who are too often just a search away. I thought, hey, I know what's missing in this market. I can make this work. So I quit my job, emptied my savings, and invested everything into this startup. At first, things seemed promising. I hired a couple of developers and a designer, and we worked for months on this app. I spent hours in meetings, hashing out details, tweaking the user interface, and thinking I was on the edge of something big. My friends and family thought I was crazy to leave a stable job for the uncertainty of a startup, but I was convinced this was my moment. The first sign of trouble came when we launched a beta version of the app. We had a small user base, but the feedback we got was less than stellar. People liked the idea, but they hated the execution. The app was clunky, it was buggy, and the users didn't understand why they should pay for something they could get through Google searches for free. After all, there are already a million ways to find a plumber. I spent months working on updates, putting in long hours, and hearing the same thing over and over from our users. This is good, but it's not great. And yet, I still held on to the belief that it would all click. I invested more money into marketing, paying for ads on social media, and hiring an SEO expert. But each time I thought we were gaining traction, the results were disheartening. We had users, but they weren't sticking around. By the end of 2019, the financial pressure was unbearable. My savings had been depleted, and I had maxed out every credit card I had. I was running out of options. That's when I realized something. Despite how hard I tried, the market just wasn't ready for the service I was offering. The app was solving a problem that wasn't big enough for people to care about. I wasn't failing because I lacked the skills or the drive. I was failing because I had missed the mark on what people actually wanted. I had to make a decision. I could keep throwing money into something that wasn't working, or I could pivot and figure out a new plan. I chose the latter. I took a hard look at what I had learned from the past year. I realized that the problem wasn't with my idea. It was with how I was approaching it. People weren't looking for an app. They were looking for a solution to a real problem, and the app itself wasn't the answer. I decided to scrap the original concept and start from scratch. In early 2020, I launched a new business, a consultancy focused on helping small businesses optimize their online presence. The idea was to take everything I'd learned from the failed app startup and use it to help other businesses avoid the same mistakes. Instead of trying to reinvent the wheel, I would focus on providing practical, actionable strategies that businesses could use immediately. At first, it was tough. I had no clients and no one knew who I was. But I knew that I had valuable experience and knowledge to share, so I started writing blog posts, giving away free advice, and reaching out to small business owners. I didn't expect to land clients right away, but I wanted to build credibility first. Slowly but surely, people started noticing me. One day, I got an email from a small coffee shop owner who had read one of my blog posts. She asked for help with her website, and just like that, I had my first paying client. From there, word of mouth spread. I helped the local gym revamp their website, optimized a bakery's Google My Business profile, and guided a landscaping company through the process of creating an online marketing strategy. Each client led to more referrals, and before I knew it, I was fully booked with a steady stream of work. As the business grew, I started bringing on contractors, content writers, web designers, and SEO specialists, so I could scale the business. I also raised my prices, which felt incredibly uncomfortable at first. I had always undervalued myself, but I realized that the work I was doing was worth more than I had initially thought. I had built a reputation for delivering results, and I wasn't going to apologize for charging what I was worth. In late 2021, I decided to take the business to the next level by developing a series of online courses for small business owners. I had been teaching clients one-on-one, but I realized I could reach more people if I offered courses that taught the same principles in a more scalable way. The courses covered everything from SEO basics to advanced social media strategies, and I was proud of how they turned out. In 2022, I was able to hire my first full-time employee, a project manager who helped me keep track of all the moving parts. We expanded our team further, and by the end of that year, my business had grown to the point where I could pay myself a steady salary and still reinvest in new projects. Looking back, I realized that the key to my success was learning from my mistakes and not giving up. The failed startup was a painful experience, but it taught me how to approach business in a way that was more practical and grounded in real-world needs. The pivot from app developer to business consultant wasn't easy, but it was necessary. I had to let go of my ego and accept that the first idea wasn't going to work. Today, I run a successful digital marketing consultancy, and we help businesses of all sizes improve their online presence. I still offer courses, and I've written a book based on everything I've learned. But the most important lesson I've learned is this: it's not about the idea, it's about the execution, persistence, and the willingness to adapt. The road is long and filled with challenges, but if you keep moving forward and stay focused on delivering real value, success will eventually follow. If you're struggling, whether it's with a startup idea that's not working or with self-doubt, just know that failure isn't the end. It's a stepping stone. Every failure, every setback is a lesson in disguise. Keep learning, keep pushing, and eventually you'll find your way. I'm proof that persistence pays off, even if it takes longer than you expected. Keep going. Thank you for watching until the end. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss new videos. Also, leave a comment. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Your support and engagement mean a lot to me. See you in the next video.